Jason Farnham, do you prefer, do you prefer Hemi tank heads or elliptical heads on 500s? We spoke a few weeks back on the phone. I mentioned I have in my possession a 2002 500 tank that's a hemispherical head with 3/6 at 1875 3/16 head with a 218 body. However, I can get my hands on an older elliptical tank that's 2.5 head 26 body. You said run what I got, but however, I found this other tank and grass is greener on the other side. I also found a 330. That's the three, buddy. Get them all, bro. You're gonna build them all. Just get them all. That's what I would do. Sorry, Jason. I had to say that. The grass is greener on the other side. So here's the long and short of it. Honestly, to actually answer your question, while I still laugh in my head about that. All right. So on 500s, I like the deep heads for looks only, and the consistency of I can find that tank pretty much everywhere. That 38 diameter, 120 inch long. Now, when you get into shallower heads on 500s, you wind up with a difference in length, and it could be shorter. Just because of that, it's going to usually be a bigger diameter. And I like a longer tank than I do bigger diameter. That's always how I've been. I feel like the bigger diameter doesn't get me as much real estate to cook on. So that's why I picked that hemispherical tank. As far as the thickness goes, as long as it's, reasonably close to 1/4 of an inch. So like and as a matter of fact, if it's heavier than like 5/16, I'm not as excited. I don't care for it to be that thick, but it just means everything's heavier. It means it's all more temperamental to work with, and that kind of stuff. But if it's 3/16 to 1/4 inch, game on. I am happy. So that's kind of how I feel, regardless of the head or the tank body. And a 330 is like, that's not the same, but it's similar to what I built Bingo out of. And that's one of my favorite tanks on the planet. I love, like, usually if I find those 30-inch diameter tanks that are 10 feet or longer, I'm grabbing them because I like to have those real long tanks. Bingo was a 30-inch diameter that was 13 feet long, 500 gallon. So those are awesome in my opinion. And I told you, run what you got. Yeah. So Roy, that's awesome, buddy. Appreciated that I could answer that question for you. And we'll probably make podcasts out of some of these just so you guys know. But yeah, that's my vote, Jason. I would grab them all and build them all. That's kind of how I feel about it. Width-wise, do you think a 500-gallon offset could fit on a 48-inch axle trailer? So the short answer is yes, it can. However, it needs to be like a 6,000-pound axle, in my opinion. I personally will never put a 500-gallon on anything smaller than a 6,000-pound axle. So if you did a 48-inch axle, you will have a hard time finding that on the shelf. There is an outfit, I think, in Texas. I drove past there and I found a phone number for them and I called them, and they do have 48-inch axles in stock and they do ship them all over the country. But it's very, type it in very carefully. It's trailerpartsoutlet.com. I was on the phone with a dude named Kyle, and Kyle told me that they do have axles with 48-inch spring centers. So the cook chamber is 38 on my favorite 500-gallon tank. It'll be 38 or 37 and a half or whatever they tell you there, and about 120 inches long typically. So if you have that tank, that gives you 5 inches per side, and I think that's a very happy number for an axle on that, because your deck on the trailer is going to be 48 inches wide in that case. And it's, if you're not wanting to put a bunch of sinks and all kinds of silly crap on there, then you'll be good.